Hello, we are going to use this data set we see here to do this model, introduction to using data. Now, after knowing how to access data from your local machine and knowing how to import your data, and it fails how you import it using your comma, right? Because we usually import CSV files. Now we are going to look at introduction data. Now that you've been able to import your data correctly, and what next? The next thing to know is to understand the data you are going to work with. So whenever you hear of a data, two things comes into play: either qualitative data or quantitative data. Now we are going to look at qualitative and quantitative data using this data set. But let's import this file again, or this data set again, using the import function. And we said when you come to the import, for your first time, come to upload and browse. Come to browse. This browse will take you to your file directory. That's the location where your file, where you've saved your data set. So for mine is at downloads. So maybe yours can be on desktop or wherever you save it, right? So this is the data set. Now it is over here. Now we said our separator type is asking us that what file format are you bringing it in? Now it is CSV, comma separated values. So select CSV, and I want my data set to be inside this spreadsheet. So select insert new sheet. Now let's go to import. If this import correctly, then our separator type is correct. So now this was the first one we were using, and this is the second one we've imported. So now we are going to look at qualitative and quantitative data. So quantitative data are the numerical values that can be quantified or perform numerical analysis on. So each column is quantitative data, base pay is quantitative data, and executive is a quantitative data. And department, education, gender are qualitative data. Now the quantitative data usually ask questions like how much, how many, how often, and how long. And with the qualitative data asking what, how, and which questions. Now, for the purposes of introduction to using data as data analyst, we are going to look at two sub things to look at under quantitative data. So quantitative data can be in two forms, either discrete or continuous. So now when I say discrete are basically positive or negative integers. But for the purposes of this data set, we only have positive integers over here, which age is an example and executive is an example. So now age is a discrete variable or a discrete quantitative values over here. The second one to look at is called continuous quantitative variable or continuous variables. Now, for a practical example, a continuous variable can be either float or date type. So what example can we see over here? When we said that floats are decimal data types. So decimal numbers are called floats in data analysis or data, and base pair is an example of a continuous values or continuous quantitative data. Why? Because decimals are infinite. Decimals do not have an end, because this one we can increase this 42.36 to the total number of decimal places we want without an end. so it becomes an infinite. So decimal numbers are continuous quantitative data because they continue, they don't have an end, they are infinite. That's the mathematical term. They are infinite. And another example of a continuous value or values as a quantitative data is date time. So date time is basically date. So second March 20 30 2023. This is a date, and this date can continue from 2nd March 2023 to the end of that year, meaning date time is also a continuous valuable under quantitative data because we can perform numerical analysis on dates. Now we have two things to look at over here. In data analysis, you meet this called NAN, and this one now. So this one will be dealt with practically, but to give you an overview or a gist of it, NAN is simply not a number, and this one is now. Not a number means this. If I use this cell for an example, this cell is empty. So this cell being empty, it is known as now, meaning nothing, empty, nothing is here. But NAN means that here could be a number, but nothing has been assigned to it. So if we see NAN over here, we see NAN over here, anything over here, we will still get the same result if nothing was here. Now, quantitatively, the intelligence of Excel, Python, or any data analytics project would treat this one as not a number, but it is not empty. It is a number, but nothing has been assigned to it yet. So it wouldn't give us an error. But if we put now over here, this now is basically empty. So this now, its data type, let's come here. Its data type is as plain as text over here. So whenever you see now over here, make sure you impute this to NAN statistically, because this NAN usually aligns itself with quantitative data. If you see NAN over here and you perform any analysis, if you want to find sum of the entire column, we still get the same thing as this was F2, right? So F2 to F20. Yeah, I think. So F20 also. Yes. F2 to F20. What is it? Okay, so we are getting 11. Even though NAN is here, but we are still getting a numerical value over here as our sum of F2 to F20. So NAN simply means not a number. Not a number doesn't mean it is empty or nothing is there. Something is there, but it is treating it even as if it is zero. But NAN is used to replace empty cells. So practically, we would treat it so you will understand it better. But I want you to understand that this NAN, going forward, you will see it as a numerical value, a quantitative value, that nothing has been assigned to it. But it doesn't mean it is not a number. But this now means it is empty, nothing is there. Now, the second thing to look at is qualitative data. So qualitative data or categorical data are the data types that we can perform numerical analysis on. We can only express them with words. And the first thing to talk about here is a nominal categorical data. A nominal categorical data example we can give here is job title. So job title here, if we look at here, we can pick job title from the department. So maybe the job title over here, we can say the operational department, we can say the operational manager. The manager over here, administrator, salesperson or sales manager, head of engineering. All these are nominal categorical data, and they are always in what string data type, just words, plain text. Now, nominal, it is nominal because they are not in order. So the second sub thing to look under qualitative data is ordinal. Ordinal means they are in order. We can order them during our analysis. And example we can give here is an education level. If you are doing any analysis and you want to look into anything that is in order, for example, educational background or analyzing their base pay based on their education qualification, then this column can be used as an example for an ordinal categorical data because they are in order. So from high school, college, bachelor's, master's to PhD. The last thing to look at under categorical data, it is binary. Why binary? Binary because binary can be in two values or two ways. It could be a Boolean or binary itself. Boolean simply true or false, right? True or false. And we said wherever you see true or false, it is similar to binary. When the binary is zeros and ones, the Boolean is also taking the true or false. So now looking at this executive over here. Now this executive over here, it could be that now we are looking at the department, the names over here, the gender over here. This female has been assigned 0 and this male has been assigned 1. This female has been assigned 1, meaning that the female heading administration is an executive member. So if the person is an executive member, then if the person here, female here, is 0, has been assigned 0, means false. False means the person is not an executive member. So when we are calculating our analysis, we have to factor all this. Either you are using a binary or you are using a Boolean. But you use the binary for quantitative sake, and you use true or false or Boolean for qualitative sake. So depending on how you want to handle your data is what you have to go for. Either you're going for binary, zeros and ones, or Boolean, true or false. Now, with introduction to using data, we've looked at quantitative and qualitative data. And under quantitative data, we've looked at discrete values. Discrete values, we are saying they are either positive or negative integers. For practical example, is the H column over here. We only have positive integer as our discrete values here. We also said we have continuous quantitative data. And continuous, we said float, that is decimal numbers, and date time, that's our date, because they are infinite, they don't have an end. So the base pay is an example, and the date that I used over here is an example of a continuous variable or a continuous quantitative data, because it is, or they are infinite. And we spoke of the NaN, not a number, and the noun. Not a number is classified as a quantitative data, because if it is inside your quantitative data, it still gives you the